being back home at night, I would stay up and wait for him to come home from work. And at our house, at the bottom of our door, there's like a big gap, big enough for frogs to come through, and which usually happens. But what I would do is I would sleep by the door, and everything is dark, and all you could see is just gap on our door, and I would just wait for his feet, the shadow of his feet. As soon as the shadow of his feet would show up, I would get up, turn on all the lights, run to the door, and I would open the door, and I would give him a big hug, and I would be so excited, so thankful that he came home.
I remember one time right after church, he took us to Magic Island, and we were in Magic Island, and he told us, all right, you guys, I'm gonna teach you guys how to fish today. So he brought out the poles and everything, and we just started casting out, and for a long time I just kept I was just throwing it out there, but I wasn't catching anything. I'd reel it back in. I was just getting frustrated, and then he'd always talk to me about patience and stop trying to rush. There's process to everything, and I'd always try to rush it sometimes, but he'd always tell me to slow down and have patience. And so eventually I caught something, and I reeled it in, and it's just like a proud moment for all of us.
I guess one thing I realized about him growing up was he was always learning something. One of his favorite channels was Olelo, and it was like I think it was like a math class or something, but he was constantly learning, and that's what fueled my I guess curiosity of learning whatever I can learn.
I remember Dad loved basketball, and so he would sit in front of the TV during playoffs. It was the Chicago Bulls, and he's sitting there watching TV, and that was the start of my love for basketball. And I would sit with him, and that was our thing. We would sit and just watch basketball. And I remember Mom would come into the living room and yell at my dad and say, "Hey, she needs to be doing this, or she needs to be cooking." It's like, it's okay.
My dad, he was one of the hardest workers I know.
He told me, Martin, one day the alarm won't work for you. It's got to be inside of you. Every morning I always wake up and I always think of that. Even though, I wake up late sometimes, it's like one of the first things I think of is, man, Dad woke up so early.
His attention to detail is something that stands out to them.
We'd go out into the garden, and I'd just try to rush and dig everything up so that I can get out of there. But he's always being like, no, there's more. There's more at the bottom if you keep digging.
I was having a conversation with him while we were working on our yard, our little farm, and I threw some dirt on him on accident. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, Dad." And he looked at me and he's like, "Well, we're working, aren't we?" And I was like, "That's a good point."
When we moved into this house, it was nothing but dirt and tea leaf. He looked at the dirt and said, "This is good enough for fruit to grow." And Dad has planted taro, tapioca, bananas, all the trees that you see in the front yard. That was all Dad. Today you still see the fruit that is growing because of the effort and the work that he put in. And that's not just figuratively or literally speaking. That's in everything. Since Dad's going home, we've seen the fruit of his labor in people coming in, stopping by, people sending messages or sending a gift or whatever it is. We're seeing Dad's fruit coming to fruition.
I learned a lot of my work ethics from him, or at least all the good ones.
When he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
If it has to get done, get it done.
One thing that I love about my dad is his lectures. He would give the longest lectures, but he would sit you down and go over the same lesson over and over and over, and just to make sure that you really got it.
When
Quinton and I first came down, he was always up with him, and me being a new parent, he scolded me, but I know he did a lot of it out of love. And although I would sit there and kind of just like, oh my gosh, this is long, I appreciated it because I know that, you know, he loved me and he just wanted me to make sure that I understood the point.
This one time, me and Maren, we got into a fight, and it was like almost daily we got into fights. But this one time he caught us right in the middle of a fight, and he disciplined us. For me, it taught me the power of your choices and the consequences of it. It also taught me the importance of my relationship with Myron, my twin. Yeah, it made me realize how much he wanted us to get along. And no matter how many times he had to do it, no matter how many times he had to discipline us, he would do it. And he did it because he loved us.
What I learned from my dad is that family, he would never criticize a member of his family or mom's family.
He loved his family. He loved us, but he also loved, you know, his extended family.
He would never say anything behind anybody's back. He doesn't like that, and he likes to make peace.
He enjoyed spending time with our family, especially his grandkids.
He showed his affection in a different way to each of his kids. I think one of my favorite times recently was his birthdays, because it was a time where we all got to sit down and share who he was to us personally, and also he got to share his heart with us. He was a funny man. Just me watching, he would always make mom laugh. And those are my favorite moments of him.
He's the kindest person I know. Like he always think about other people.
He went out of his own way to show people that he cared.
He would do a lot of things for people behind the scenes, and he didn't really care to be recognized. He just did it out of the kindness of his heart.
Sometimes I don't agree with him. Like he would never say no. Like if somebody said something, and then he will try to find a way to provide.
I remember one year I was stranded in Guam. I told Dad, you know, I'm ready to come home. And he moved mountains somehow, you know, to make sure that I got home when I said I wanted to come home.
Dad to me is someone who displays the love of God and forgiveness, forgiving man. I've seen many times where things have gone wrong, but he would be the first to ask for forgiveness.
When we went down to Portland, I think my favorite memory is just when he was telling me how proud he was of me, and I'm just really thankful for everything that he's done.
More recently, one of the things that he would always tell me was that he's proud. He's proud of me, and he's proud of us as siblings and how we continue to come together. You know, when he goes to our family meetings, family church services, you know, he's just very proud to say that we are his children.
He was just telling me about how, you know, he's always appreciated our leaders and our pastors for helping us grow, because although he's my dad and my mom is my mom, like it takes a whole village to raise a child. And so that was one of the things, like he was just like very proud of us, and like I can say the same thing. I'm very proud of him.
Most importantly, he would like to advise me to remember God in everything, to put God first.
Iwe ikana masun apa say Kristo ngonok Mackenzie. Kristo sa puren sa konmonsan med en mi paringan ni sangai dia popten as populite tori ye sa sonorem lon fanson ngangaman Kristo naman mareti kot Kristo ni kot renan ako tangan ni kis as tipe manawani manawan tongfangan tori as sa ayumo sa mela sa ayumo fisingi kis na misa pal Kristo pa mi apelikulik pa ren sa pal sufangan sa fan Kristo sa puren sa konmonsan met enbi IT ngani kis med kis mi kan si fanganoan saptoni malikala med kukun memes ngani kem ren kapas kawit ngang yaman mefi ay Kristo ren aremo po session no remem ngam session work lon me ay po work titan ren ami sa mutuk ami poseto kami tongek ren sekobatan met ami kan sesamanok ren Kristo ren met en mi ferry depan kismi kan no fangan misalnya tipis ren met kewe ngami kan pal ferry fendu sang ami kan mefi Amen. Ngami Kristo pe en mi palwewe. Ewer kis is a perfect. Pe fanson monson fan nu sa kis mi kan pal mal Kristo sa pe en mi kan pal muter lupan asipa mo samas ngen mi pal kana tua kis mi kan amusa fengeni kis mi kan pal sa alemana pe sa mosan e poso namanian usopa. Kis saman Kristo ni kot pe mi asaramangan ni kis kimi fangato an saram pe manawan saram manawan kenamwe manawan tong fangan Kristo pa sa kubatan met ngami kayo marem wen usasak nuninas en usapasak ani umamas ngani pukun family we en misakale depak family ay family inamet ngami kaya sama ko fan nu sangai kan sakrai family ngen so rena titan en mi sakra family berbebek ye met ngami angai sama ngami auseni ngami kaya ngane sama sarak nge kot anun mi Phillip alisi pe petoni ferry met ko en mi kan amur ngani kam remet ke en mi kan ferry lon maketum ngami kan warai yamin kan par Kristo ni kuat memariti kuat ren iwe Kristo pe mete ke monson ngami kan sesemani sabto na ipamalika na kukun ay Kristo ay tongonok ay posito sa palsu feneo Amiliku pa ren si pasufangan sa PAHPA fangan sa fan. Kristo ni God, Kristo, everyone so.
Come a long way about to my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. Come a long bow to my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.